Welcome to Accounting High.
We really do this by asking the right questions to guide the clients to see the reality of their situation and allow them to make a decision that they feel really good about.
Yeah, it's so important to ask more questions.
Yeah.
That's like,
So it's crucial. And remember, you're the expert. It's not the bottle of pills on Amazon where I'm getting a 250 count or 180 count and the cost per ounce differs by 3 cents. That's not us. We are in a relationship-based selling environment.
Yeah. You know what? It's Friday at Accounting High. Make varsity, no doubt. Play on, players. Play on. Okay, drop the verse. It's going down, welcome back. Team of coaches are ready to teach promotional price packaging. No doubt, Accounting High, put it down. Never about the numbers in accounts, a bot can figure that out. Tell me who got hot takes and tips. Attracting teams like Coach Mac did. Price and fear patterns, mindsets, proactive. Still moving this forward with my homies Matt, Queen, Dave, Kenji, the original coach trainers. Outsource teams now, good lord. Creating cultures with real owners, wow. Systems for when you're not around. Cover much ground, stop breathing, slow down. Getting paid is the only way, each and every day. Recurring models great. Get ready, open your mind. Why? Learn and power your firm, free your time. East side to the west side, pushing value price at Accounting High. We got tips in our bag, stacking up your cash. Practice with the top of the class. Clients need service because people are the purpose. Lace up, it's like phys ed, it's immersive. Friday at Accounting High, let's begin. You people are the purpose. Make varsity, it's time to level up. Level up. People are the purpose. Make varsity, it's time to level up. Level up. You people are the purpose. Make varsity, it's time to level up. Level up. You people are the purpose. Make varsity, it's time to level up. Lace up.
Introducing the star of our show.
Scotty and Coach Queen.
We're gonna have a problem here.
Class is in session, and we got Coach Queen with us today. Her first name is Pitch. Michelle Weinstein, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back to talk about that 4th tip to get on varsity.
How to make the varsity team, part 4. What are we talking about today, Ms. Pitch?
Collecting the right information.
Collecting the right information, all right?
Yep. And I'm just curious, Scott, what do you think that means?
Well, as I alluded to at the end of our previous segment, it may not be what you think. Now, for me, I'm piggybacking on our last conversation and saying, if we are going to go deeper with the person, build a rapport and ask the right questions and let the conversation go where it goes, then I think collecting information is also going to be a little bit more nuanced than what I might think. It's not just going to be about, let me get your bank info and
Right.
your documents here.
Yep. Yeah, it has nothing to do with that.
I think we're going to be sleuthing. I think we're going to check them out online. We're going to check out their homepage for their website. We're going to do some homework before we talk to them.
A little bit of that, but this is more of like when you're with the client. So in the last tip, we talked a lot about the rapport building and connecting point, finding common ground. In this one, what I talk about collecting the information, that's really the art of selling. But in the big scheme of things, you really don't even have to sell. It's just the word that has been given to this activity in your business, and it's the first word on a P&L, sales, revenue, income, whatever you want to call it. So the great news is you don't have to sell if you do the following, which is collecting the right information. And what I mean by that is that it's an exploration. Every single meeting you have with a client, just like we talked about with building rapport, I asked you, Scott, well, why did you want to start this? What inspired you? You have so many of these crazy, unique ideas, and that was a way to build rapport. But now the same goes for if you're talking to...
Thank you for pointing out that they're crazy and
They
unique.
are. They're crazy and unique. I'm like, I mean, you've done with your bracket to the intro to taking all of these and creating a book out of it. There's just so many. A lot of it's a little crazy, but a lot of it's just really cool too. And it's so unique, especially in this industry.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
well, I get that. I get that a lot. I get the crazy part a lot.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not off.
Definitely not off. That's the thing. My TV show used to be called Something Crazy when I was in college. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't last for too long, but it was pretty crazy. Like it was always something crazy most of the time. Not all of them are good ideas, but we can continue. Some of the ideas are crazy and bad. Some of them are crazy, unique, and pretty good.
Yeah. So when I talk about collecting the right information, what I'm talking about is asking strategic questions to your clients to get to the root of why they need you or what challenges they're having in their business or what was their issue with the IRS on a tax resolution case or what was their challenge with their last bookkeeper that has you now having to do a bookkeeping cleanup project. So it's about asking strategic questions is how you get the right information. And when it's done correctly, the client will lead themselves to making a decision that you have all the answers. That's a twister, huh?
Bit of a twister. I saw a cat. I got distracted by the cat a
It's
little
not
bit.
a cat, dog. I don't know where she went.
That's a dog. So I saw the tail, and it just
you
reminds me of the winner of our tournament. So you mentioned the tournament, and the winner was Uncat. And the reason they won, I think, was because of the branding and because of they were the coolest ones out of all of them. They're called Uncat, and they have a sideways question mark as their logo, but it looks like a U. Yeah. But to me, it looked like a cat tail because your dog, I think it has a different color at the end of the tail. Is that right?
She's a Frenchie. Let me grab her so you can see her, and we can go through some examples.
Shout out to Uncat for winning the first ever ABC tournament, the Accountant Bracket Challenge. As of this recording, it has been announced that Uncat is the winner of our first ever tournament, where 64 different things in the accounting space all competed as one champion. Now we got the dog. Okay, that definitely looks like a cat dog. I know, is it a pug or?
It's a Frenchie.
Frenchie. Okay. Frenchie is not a pug, but they look kind of similar.
They look similar just because of her hair coloring, but they come in all different colors. A lot of them are spotted or whatever, but
also looks like a Siamese cat from behind.
Yes.
For sure. From my angle right here, anybody would think that's a Siamese. Or maybe it's just me. Nope.
Like a cat,
all right, Frenchie. So let's get back to our educational, conversational.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about asking strategic questions and making sure it's done correctly, because that's how you collect the right information. And that will help the client, like I said earlier, come to a decision that you know all the answers. So let's think about it like this. Okay, Scott? So you go to a doctor, right? And you're like, hey, my head hurts. That's a symptom. What does a doctor then typically do when you go there?
Ask more questions, I hope.
Very good. Good answer.
Sometimes they just give you medicine. Here's a...
Well, then you went to a crappy doctor.
Yeah.
And we don't... So if we all just put on our doctor hats for a second and said, okay, let's use a real example, Scott, of a client that you met with.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have one in mind that had some problems?
I don't even know what a client is anymore.
I know. It's been a while.
Clients at the firm, I don't remember the last time I can think back. I can put my thinking cap on. Okay, I got a client in mind. What do they come to me for?
Yeah, what they come to you for?
I'm asking you this.
Oh, maybe like a cleanup project or something,
Okay.
or bookkeeping
So
cleanup.
a sales
Yeah.
call. I didn't know if it was
sales
an
call.
existing client or a
Yeah,
potential.
no. Well, even with existing clients, you'd be surprised how much stuff you just don't know about them. But yeah, we'll just go with with a new client.
Okay.
Okay.
Check.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the questions, if you were the doctor, could be, what would you ask me? I'm the client that's coming to you with messed up book. I had another bookkeeper and they didn't do a very good job, and you found all these things that need to get fixed.
Okay.
What would be like a question that you would ask me if you were a doctor and I was your patient?
I'm always drawing blank with questions. How are you
This
doing?
is
Like,
no,
I've never.
that's not what we're going to do. So exactly what Scott did is not what we're going to do. So how about we start with, like, if I'm the doctor and I'm asking you, you're the client with the messed up books. So Scott, I'm so glad that you came to my firm today. I was looking through all of your books and I noticed there's tons of errors. Like, what's got you most frustrated that has you looking for a new firm owner to take over your QuickBooks? Because it is a mess. What's been really frustrating with having messed up books?
I can't access any of my information. I don't know what's going on.
And by not being able to access any information or know what's going on, how have you felt running your business?
In the dark. I feel like I don't know what's going on with my books. I don't know if we're making any money or not.
So you don't even know if you're making any money.
Well, the money in the bank account is increasing, so I think we're making money, but I don't really know how much. I don't know our margins. I don't know what kind of. I need more information, right?
Yeah, got it. And so what's it like running your business blind, completely like you're in a dark tunnel with no end in sight? There's no light at the end of it.
Ooh, it feels like trapped, helpless. That's a deep question, because sitting at the end of a dark tunnel with no light, I would feel like I'm suffocating a little bit. I'd feel like.
Does your business feel like that?
Well,
If you don't get this,
if you want to be honest, no, mine doesn't. But if I'm the client, yes.
I know. We're
I'm not very good at role playing. Yeah, because
you're
I can
doing
only
a great
be me.
job.
Yeah.
So if any of you recall from tip number 3, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, he also said the word feel. I feel like, so he's thinking more in the kinesthetic and that from that language point of view. So you're doing really great. So I would ask you then, well, Scott, it seems like this is a really big problem that you have no idea what's going on in the business, and yet you have money in the bank account. Like, how much longer can you keep going this way?
Until the next bad thing happens.
Okay. Until the next bad thing happens. So how much do you have in your emergency fund for when the next bad thing happens?
Enough. In my situation, let's just say.
I know, but you're not your typical client that's looking for bookkeeping cleanup.
Okay. So my typical client looking for bookkeeping cleanup says, oh, only a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks. There you go. Got it. So if this doesn't get resolved in the next couple of weeks, you just are going to be flying blind, or the business might have to close. Did I get that right?
I'll have to, yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to make some changes.
Okay. I'm curious. Thank you for sharing that. Like, what kind of changes do you think might need to be happening?
I might have to let somebody go.
Okay. So what I'm doing is, if you can think about this similar to going to the doctor's office, if you have a headache, they're going to say, oh, like, where does it hurt? What have you been eating? What's changed in your diet? What's changed in your weight? Like, they're getting all of these data points. And what we need to do is collect the right information and ask the right questions to get our data point. And that's what we're doing. So there's always a why.
You're circling the drain. I say that. Or you're just 360 going around it from different angles and asking different questions to get to the right answer.
Correct. And you can think about this like an onion. So it might be like pulling back the layers of the onion. So I don't know if you've ever eaten red onions, but on the outside, like purple, maroon, or red. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of gets like a little green layer. And then there's the white. And then there's that part in the middle that you pretty much toss. But peeling back all these layers is the way to collect the information that you need from your client. And this is the stuff that most people don't ask. They just ask surface level questions, but that ultimately doesn't get to the real truth.
Right.
Like
Surface
for
level
bookkeep-
questions don't
get
give
to
us
the
all the
truth.
answers that we want to hear.
No.
And they're all the normal answers. But once you start going deeper, that's when that person starts to really show you who they are.
Correct. 100%.
And that's where you really learn like how to help them.
Yeah. And that's how they can see your value. That's how you can differentiate yourself from anyone else. Because most firm owners, unless they've encountered, aren't really asking this stuff. And a lot of my clients, this is the most challenging thing to do. So you might as well start practicing now. And really getting to their real why is the difference between someone signing an engagement letter right there and then and someone saying, oh, I need to think about it. I need to go meet with some other firms or whatever. They just told you that their business has 2 more weeks to go. They just told us that. And if we let them bleed any longer, think about the doctor's office or tumor, for example, Mila, we'll just use her. I was in Seattle and she was with a intern of mine at the time with her family and they were watching her. She's like 4 months old. They took their eye off her and they had a big bag of raw rice, like a 20-pound bag on the floor. Mila got to the bag, ripped a hole in it, and just started eating rice until she ate so much rice that she threw up everywhere, etc. Went to the vet, and the vet said, we have to do emergency surgery if you want your dog to live. It didn't have a choice. That was it. So we need to understand and have the clients understand that sometimes if they don't take action now, it will hurt them or cost them maybe a life, maybe thousands of dollars, maybe on a tax resolution case, wages garnished. There's all sorts of consequences that could happen if someone says they need to wait or they need to go meet with other firms. So taking people through this process and collecting the right information and being a really good listener only helps them out. It helps you get the work done, but it also allows them to make the decision to engage your firm, which we can't. We have to do that first before you can do the work. It doesn't go the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how you're not even selling to them at that point. Like you said earlier, like you're not convincing them of anything.
No.
You're solving a problem. And
We're
you're coming
already
in with the right intent anyway. Like that's the biggest drawback sometimes for people to think that yes, you should ask others, and you like, no, like you don't need to go meet with somebody else to decide this. Like this is the right decision. You need to make a decision, and tell them that this is the way.
And that's what a doctor does. The
doctor's not going to say, go ask another doctor what they think too.
Never. They're the expert. You're the expert. Her vet said, he even said, I've never seen a dog in this position before, and I don't normally do this surgery, but I'm confident I can save her life and I can do it right now.
And that's why that is actually why you're going to believe that doctor, because they are confident enough and they believe it too. So it's not just that they're confident, but they believe it's the right way. And that's what you should feel with your client is you believe that this is going to help them. You're not doing this to hurt them in any way.
Not at all. But we also need to convey the urgency and the timing, which is why
that would hurt
I
them.
asked you, how much longer can your business keep going the way it is in this dark tunnel, not knowing your numbers? And you said a couple weeks in our bookkeeping cleanup example. So that is really how we show our clients and prospects that we understand what they're going through. We understand their pain points. And that every person really kind of gives the perception that they have this accurate diagnosis is the person to have the best and only solution. So like Mila's vet, I have the best diagnosis. She needs the stomach extraction surgery. I got to cut her up. And he was the only solution. And he really was. Or I could have called a bunch of other emergency vets, but why? He showed me his value by having a conversation with me, explaining what was going on, the challenges that were at hand, and the amount of time we had. Now, some of your clients might not be in such an urgent state, which I get, but our job is to figure out and get to some more urgency if we can. Because otherwise, you have the people, Scott, and I'm sure you dealt with this. Oh, I'm going to go meet with like 3 other firms. I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you allow that, that's what you're going to keep getting.
Yeah.
But we really do this by asking the right questions to guide the clients to see the reality of their situation and allow them to make a decision that they feel really good about.
Yeah, it's so important to ask more questions.
Yeah.
That's like...
So it's crucial. And remember, you're the expert and your client has a massive problem, or your prospect has a massive problem. And you have to believe that you are the only one that can solve it. Because not everybody is like Scott. Not everybody is like the next firm owner. You're all unique and different, and only you can solve the problem. So it's not the bottle of pills on Amazon where I'm getting a 250 count or 180 count, and the cost per ounce differs by 3 cents. That's not us. We are in a relationship-based selling environment, and only you can solve the problem. But first, we have to believe that. Like, I have a very strong belief, Scott, that I am the best at helping firm owners with their sales processes, their pricing, and having the confidence to work with quality, high-paying clients. You can't spend any marketing trying to get those clients if you don't have a way to communicate in a sales process to make it happen. It would clash. You'll go spend a lot of money, and I guarantee you probably would make more going to Vegas and gambling it. Because without a sales process and without being able to communicate this, and without the belief that you're the best one to solve their problem, you're going to have a lot of clients or prospects coming to you. You're going to waste a ton of time meeting them, and then you're not going to have anyone pay you. Or they'll be like, oh, I'm still looking, or whatever the situation is. And if you are spending money on marketing, social media, and you're not seeing the high-paying quality clients, it's because you have a conversion problem. And a conversion problem is also known as a sales problem.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And just think about it, right? If the patient visits the doctor with a stomach ache or with the Bryce or whatever, how does the doctor know what's really going on? They have to ask the questions to probe in order to make the correct diagnosis. Our job meaning a firm owner, is very similar. We strategically have to poke around to discover what the true pain is, because this upset stomach ache is just the symptom. It's not the true thing that's going on. You know, if you have an animal, and just because I have one, you know, if she has a bad stomach ache or is throwing up, it's not because of food. You would think it. What if it was, you know, she got bit by a bee? That's happened. And from the stinger, they have, you know, vomiting. That's just what's happening. But the vets have a very difficult time because they have a patient that doesn't communicate. We are so lucky that we have patients that communicate with us. Mm-hmm. Your prospects can communicate and talk. You just have to ask the right questions. And by asking the right questions is how you collect the right information.
So it also starts with believing in your process too, and knowing that it's like you have to change your mindset around how you're going to approach something, and that takes believing in that system that you're working in too. Yeah.
And that if I ask good questions, it will help the client realize that they don't have a lot of time, or, you know, in your situation on the example we did, you only had a couple more weeks left in business. I could even ask some more questions like this, Scott, like, so you're sharing with me that you only have a couple more weeks left in business. And I'm just really curious, how much money have you invested in your business to even get it to this point?
Oh, geez. I don't know the answer to that one either. Like,
Just make
what
it
did
up.
we say? Hundreds
Or-
of thousands of dollars.
Like, I mean, a real bookkeeping cleanup client. Do you know on average how much the capital is that they put in by looking at their balance sheet?
Yeah, you could see it at the balance sheet. Like but I don't ever ask that question. I don't know. I don't know
I
the
know.
answer. Yeah.
And that's the problem. We have to ask that question so that they can go, oh my God, I've spent $200,000. If I don't fix this now with Scott, I'm willing to lose that? When you're sitting here telling them, let's just say that this cleanup project will get them out of this mess. If that's the truth. I don't know. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because the client, they have forgotten how much money they put in. So you're saying that you can only go 3 more weeks in business, but yet you've invested $200,000 in capital in this business that you're willing to lose? What would you do if this business doesn't work? If you had to close your doors, what's your alternative? That's another question I would ask.
Yeah, what are you going to do next? Go back and take the job that you left?
Exactly. So not only did you have a business failed, when you're telling them that you have the prescription, you know how to solve this, you have the drug to make it all better. And this is how you can really handle objections on the front end versus in the latter part of the client.
Well, the latter,
telling
it's
you.
too late.
Typically, it's too late. Not all the time, but we have to really think about not only is it collecting the right information, but it's getting the right answers to make a proper diagnosis. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, but the
like
more
you said,
information you have, the better picture you can paint.
Yes, exactly.
And you can prescribe better.
Yes, you can prescribe better. Correct.
It's a prescriptive way of doing this. The art and the science.
The art and the science and a prescriptive way. And it's very difficult for many firm owners, from my experience.
Well, you're retraining yourself too, because we have muscle memory on how we approach conversations, and that kicks in sometimes, especially in a sales situation. It kicks in your old habits of doing things, and to break those is hard. So you're going to naturally go back in and not do it right the first few times. Even if you understand the concept of asking these questions, there will be a lot of people that go to their first couple of calls and they forget again. So how do they keep this top of mind?
Well, you can contact me.
Well, I'm looking for an answer now. How does somebody keep this top of mind?
Repetition.
Do they make
it's repetition?
Get your reps in.
You get your reps in, and you might want to just write out questions and put them on flashcards and just start practicing with your significant others and with your kids. Just like I shared before, this just takes real life repetition. So having meetings, but again, I wouldn't spend much money on marketing until you can feel that you're confident in this area and you're confident in asking the questions and understanding you, the doctor, has all the things to give the best prescription, and you can make a proper diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I would say if you're in an hour meeting with a client, let's hear, Scott, how much time do you think you would want to spend in this part of an hour meeting with a client, with a prospect?
What do you mean? How much time on this? Just
so in an hour,
questions?
just asking these types of questions to collect the right information. If you had an hour meeting with a client and this was one of the processes and steps in that to diagnose and to get the best prescription for them.
Probably half hour at least, maybe the whole time.
Yeah, I always say 20 minutes, 20 to 30. Okay. So great. And it's very weird for many firm owners because you just want to get to the point. You're like, hey, here's what I need. This is what I see. And here's the price. I'll email you a proposal and you can get back to me. We take a very passive approach to the whole thing. But your person has cancer, or your person is like my dog who needed emergency surgery. Your person just spent $200,000 in getting their business up, and they have 3 weeks to live. By you sending an email with a proposal or something or a quote in the future, you're doing that person a disservice. You're letting them lose time.
Now, we've created an extreme example here.
We have
I-
but you have to think about that, if you're not getting the results you want, start to think from this place.
Okay.
Take a time in your life where you visited the doctor or your family member or you had an animal like I did, and time was of the essence. And knowing and getting to the real root cause of what's happening, and knowing that asking these right questions will get them to take action so you can solve their problem. However, you need them to answer questions so you can make a proper diagnosis to give a proper prescription.
Well, there's a lot of other good reasons to be asking all those questions too, because then you also are prescribing the right solution.
Diagnosis. Yeah, exactly.
So when you are doing the solution, you have more information to pull from to answer the questions when working on said back work or bookkeeping catch-up project. You know where to get the information. You know a lot more about them and their situation that will apply to the practice of after, even when you're doing the work too.
Totally.
To get to ask more questions, a lot of times, at least, for me, it takes being centered around the problem at hand and trying to continue to feel my understanding of the problem. Yeah. And if I don't understand it, I don't act like I do and then try to prescribe just to move on to the next thing. It's staying curious.
Staying curious is the key ingredient.
Staying curious and the key ingredient. I like that.
And also know that when you ask these questions, this is actually how you're building value. So a lot of people, how do you value price? How do you do that? It's through the questions that you ask, because it's setting you apart from just being seen as a commodity.
Differentiator.
It is a differentiator, because most people aren't asking these questions.
Think back on the last time you had a good interaction with somebody that you were buying from. It's because you felt like they understood you and
felt heard and understood.
Yeah. Because then if somebody knows you, then the next interaction with them is more comfortable because I know them, I understand them, I trust them. Mm-hmm. It builds a lot more trust when you care about what somebody else has to say and listen to them. Then in turn, you feel more open to share, and they care. So I'm going to tell more, and the more a lot of times too, the person you're talking to doesn't even know. That's why they came to you, because they don't know the right answer. So they don't even know what information is valuable or not.
Yeah, they don't. But we have to guide them to giving the proper information. And the information that will also help you build leverage. So when you tell them their bookkeeping cleanup is 10, 15 grand, they're not as in shock. They're like, yeah, I need to do this. Otherwise, I have to close my business. I'm going to lose that $200,000 investment I put in because I had my books done by myself, or we tried to do it on our own, or whatever the case may be. So it's for them to make that connection point again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good place to end this one. I like this. We're learning a lot more about how to approach a potential client as a person and build a relationship with them, because it's not always about the work that we're doing. Yeah. It's not about, it is about solving their problems, but it's not just about the work itself, because solving their problems means getting to know them as a person so you know what their problems are.
Correct. And next tip is that we're going to need to protect our inventory.
Ooh, again, another thing that may not be what you think. Because inventory, I like the way that you
it's not
phrased this. Yeah. You keep the titles nice and generic, and it's a lot more beneath the surface. I like this. Yeah.
So we need to protect our inventory. And it's really important because, I don't want to give it away. So you'll have to just tune it next tip.
It's not going to be stocking things in a storeroom. It's not going to be that kind of inventory. It's not the inventory that we have in the warehouse.
It won't be, what is it? FIFO, or I learned it in my last.
LIFO.
Yeah. It's not going to be that.
Okay. I figured.
It'll be a little different.
Dope. All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.